Let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever noticed how some men don't really try, yet women seem drawn to them almost effortlessly? They don't text all day, they don't over-explain, they don't perform emotional gymnastics to be liked. And yet, women remember them, think about them, sometimes obsess over them. Meanwhile, other men do everything right on paper. They compliment, they show effort, they're available, attentive, emotionally open, and still they get ignored, friend-zoned, or slowly faded out. So what's the difference? Here's the uncomfortable truth most men never hear. It's not what you say. It's the position you're saying it from. Women are not attracted to clever lines. They are attracted to frame. Frame is invisible, but it's loud. It's the unspoken message behind every word you say. And today, I'm going to break down 10 simple sentences that instantly shift attraction. Not because of the words themselves, but because of the self-respect, boundaries, and emotional independence behind them. Important warning before we go any further. If you repeat these sentences without living the mindset behind them, they will backfire hard. But if you understand them, if you embody them, they change how women respond to you at a psychological level. So listen carefully. And ask yourself as we go, do I actually live from this frame, or do I just want the result? Let's start. Statement number 1. I don't chase what isn't mine. On the surface, this sounds simple, almost casual. But psychologically, this sentence is nuclear. Most men believe attraction is created by effort. More texts, more reassurance, more availability. But effort doesn't create attraction. Self-restraint does. Let me paint you a picture. 2 men are interested in the same woman. Man number 1 texts her, "Good morning," then "Good afternoon," then sends memes. Then double texts when she doesn't reply. He fills silence like it's a threat. Man number 2 sends a message, then goes quiet. Not as a tactic, but because he has a life that doesn't revolve around her response. Guess which man occupies more space in her mind? Here's the paradox most men miss. The man who stands still creates gravity. The man who chases loses it. When you say, "I don't chase what isn't mine," you are communicating something deeper than confidence. You're saying, "I don't confuse desire with entitlement. I don't beg for reciprocity. I trust that what's meant to come towards me will." And that frame triggers 2 things in female psychology. Scarcity, because your attention is not unlimited. Self-respect, because you would rather walk away than overinvest. Women don't respond to pursuit. They respond to selection pressure. When you stop chasing, something interesting happens. She starts wondering, why isn't he trying harder? Did I misread my leverage? Is he less available than I thought? And curiosity is the seed of attraction. Quick question for you, and be honest. Have you ever chased harder and felt yourself lose value in real time? If so, drop a comment later. I read them. Let's move on. Statement number 2. That doesn't work on me. This sentence is not aggressive. It's not emotional, it's not defensive, and that's exactly why it's powerful. Many women, consciously or not, test emotional control. They might pull back suddenly, go cold, give short replies, change tone, not because they're cruel, but because they're checking something very specific. Can I move him emotionally? Most men fail this test instantly. They ask questions. They seek reassurance. They react. And the moment you react emotionally, you surrender power. When you calmly say, "That doesn't work on me," you're communicating something rare. I see the behavior, and I'm unaffected by it. You're not calling her out. You're not arguing. You're not chasing clarity. You're simply immune. Think of emotional manipulation like gravity. It only works if you lean into it. The man who gets pulled loses frame. The man who remains steady gains respect. I once coached a guy who used to spiral every time a woman went distant. One day, instead of reacting, he paused and calmly said, "That energy doesn't really move me." Do you know what happened next? She leaned forward, changed tone, started explaining herself. Because emotional control flips the dynamic. Here's the pattern to remember. The man who reacts becomes predictable. The man who stays neutral becomes intriguing. Ask yourself, do you react to shifts or do you remain centered? Because attraction lives in emotional stability. Statement number 3. I think you need space. I'll let you take it. This one is subtle and extremely dangerous if you don't mean it. Many women create distance not because they want to leave, but because they want to observe. They pull back to see, will he panic? Will he chase? Will he collapse emotionally? Most men fail by doing too much. They push closer, they demand clarity, they try to fix the distance. But distance is not a problem. Fear of distance is the problem. When you say, I think you need space, I'll let you take it, you reverse the entire psychological current. You remove pressure, you remove pursuit, you remove fear. And now the silence has nowhere to push against. What happens next is fascinating. She expected resistance. She expected emotion. She expected pursuit. Instead, she gets calm permission. And permission creates self-doubt. Wait, he's not fighting this? Why isn't he trying to stop me? Does he actually not need me? Distance only works as a weapon when the other person is afraid of it. When you're not afraid, it turns inward. This sentence communicates abundance without saying it. It says, I'm complete with or without constant closeness. I don't cling. I don't fear absence. And that is deeply masculine energy. Let me ask you something important. When someone pulls away, do you tighten your grip or loosen it? Because your answer determines everything. Now pay close attention here because this is where most men emotionally collapse without realizing it. Everything we've covered so far revolves around emotional independence. And the next 4 statements sharpen that edge. These are not things you say to impress a woman. These are things you say when you are no longer negotiating your worth. Let's continue. Statement number 4. I want you, but I don't need you. This sentence carries one of the strongest attraction paradoxes in female psychology. Desire without dependency. Most men think attraction comes from wanting her more. But the truth is, attraction comes from wanting her without requiring her. There's a massive difference. Needing someone says, you complete me. I lose stability without you. I'm afraid of life without this connection. Wanting someone says, I choose you. I enjoy you, but I remain whole without you. Women can feel this difference instantly. It shows up in tone, in pacing, in how you listen without clinging for approval. I've seen men say all the right words, yet still feel invisible. Why? Because underneath the words was hunger, validation hunger. Emotional dependency, fear of loss. Neediness kills attraction faster than any mistake ever could. But when a woman senses that you want her, yet your life does not orbit her emotions, something shifts. She relaxes. She leans in. She invests. Because desire feels safe only when it isn't desperate. Here's a simple truth. When you need someone, you hand them power. When you want someone, you offer presence. and presence is magnetic. Ask yourself this quietly. If she walked away tomorrow, would your life still move forward with momentum? Be honest. Attraction responds to that answer. Statement number 5. My attention isn't free. You have to earn it. This one makes some men uncomfortable because they've been taught that attention is something you give endlessly to prove value. But attention is not free. It is your most limited resource, time. Focus, energy. When you give it away without standards, it loses meaning. Let me give you a real-world contrast. One man rearranges his schedule instantly, cancels plans, responds within seconds, always available. Another man is warm but structured, present but not constantly accessible. His time is allocated, not donated. Which man feels more valuable? Free things are rarely respected. Earned things are cherished. When you say, my attention isn't free, you are not demanding effort. You're stating a boundary. You're saying, my life has structure. My focus is selective. My time reflects my values. And that triggers earned investment. Women invest more where effort is required, not where access is unlimited. Attention given too easily becomes invisible. Attention given intentionally becomes addictive. Quick reflection. Do people have to earn your time, or do they just take it? Your answer defines how you're treated. Statement number 6. I don't compete for women. Women compete for me. Now, let's be very clear. This is not arrogance. This is not bravado. And it is definitely not something you shout. This is an internal frame. Many women will test this frame intentionally. They might casually mention another man, an ex, someone giving them attention. They're watching one thing. Does he flinch? Most men do. They compete. They justify. They try to prove superiority. And the moment you compete, you place yourself below. Competition implies scarcity. When you don't engage, something powerful happens. You signal abundance without explanation. Saying, I don't compete doesn't mean you don't care. It means you don't audition. You're not trying to be chosen. You're seeing if she qualifies for your world. That flips the entire dynamic. Women are deeply attracted to men who see themselves as the prize, not because they demand admiration, but because they live as if their life is already full. Here's the rule. The man who competes is chasing validation. The man who observes is filtering options. Which role are you playing? Because women instinctively respond to the man who doesn't enter contests he never signed up for. Statement number 7. Disrespect me once, I'm gone. This is where real polarity is created. Not through anger, not through threats, but through certainty. Disrespect often starts small. A sarcastic jab, a dismissive tone, a subtle dig disguised as humor. Many men laugh it off. They tolerate it. They minimize it. They tell themselves they're being cool. But tolerance teaches people how to treat you. When you allow small disrespect, you invite larger ones. This statement doesn't come from bitterness. It comes from clarity. I don't negotiate my dignity. That's it. No arguments, no lectures, no emotional reactions, just consequence. And here's what's important. Women don't lose attraction when a man enforces boundaries. They lose attraction when he doesn't, because boundaries signal self-worth. A man who walks away from disrespect communicates, I value peace more than approval. I choose myself without drama. That creates respect, and respect fuels attraction. Ask yourself, do you forgive behaviors you secretly resent? Because resentment is the cost of unprotected boundaries. Now, everything we've covered so far leads to something deeper. These statements don't work because they sound confident. They work because they are spoken from a man who is not afraid to be alone. And that brings us to the final phase. In part 3, we're going to cover the power of solitude, emotional intelligence that disarms conflict, the ultimate frame that makes attraction optional, not necessary, and the twist most men never see coming. Before I continue, take a moment. Which statement so far hit you the hardest? Think about it, because what triggers you usually reveals where your frame is weakest. Now we arrive at the point most men never reach, not because they can't understand it, but because they're not willing to live it. Everything so far has been about internal authority, and the last 3 statements expose whether you truly have it or not. Let's continue. Statement number 8. I'd rather be alone than with the wrong woman. This sentence changes everything because it removes the strongest leverage anyone can ever have over you, fear of being alone. Most men tolerate bad relationships not because they want to, but because solitude terrifies them. They stay through disrespect. They endure emotional chaos. They accept breadcrumbs. Why? Because loneliness feels like failure. But here's the reality. The man who fears solitude can be controlled. The man who embraces solitude cannot. When you say, I'd rather be alone than with the wrong woman, you are declaring emotional sovereignty. You are saying, I don't trade peace for company. I don't confuse connection with dependency. I don't cling to what drains me. This is not a rejection of women. It's a rejection of misalignment, and that creates massive attraction. Because a woman knows, if he chose me, it wasn't out of fear, it was out of choice. That certainty is rare, and rarity is seductive. Ask yourself, are you choosing relationships or escaping loneliness? Because the answer determines who has power. Statement number 9. You feel cornered right now, don't you? This is where emotional intelligence becomes lethal, in the best way. Most arguments are not about facts. They're about unexpressed emotions. When a woman becomes emotional, dramatic, or reactive, most men do one of 2 things. They fight back or they shut down. Both lose frame. But when you calmly name the emotional state, without accusation, something unexpected happens. You bypass the surface behavior and speak directly to what's underneath, saying, you feel cornered right now, don't you? Does 3 things instantly. It shows awareness, it removes threat, it disarms escalation. Because emotions lose power once they are seen. You're not arguing, you're observing. You're not defending, you're grounding the moment. And grounding is leadership. Women feel safe with men who can stay present in emotional chaos, not men who drown in it. This is why emotional intelligence creates attraction that lasts, because you are no longer reactive. You are anchored. Let me ask you something important. When emotions rise, do you try to win or do you try to understand? Only one builds long-term desire. Statement number 10. With or without you, I win. This is the ultimate frame. And no, it does not mean you don't care. It means your life has direction beyond relationships. Purpose, discipline, a path you're walking, whether anyone joins you or not. Most men subconsciously communicate, my happiness depends on this connection. That's pressure. But when a woman senses that you are already winning at life, moving forward, building something, grounded in mission, she wants to join, not lead, not rescue, not motivate, join. This sentence communicates, I'm not paused waiting for love. I'm not orbiting your approval. I'm moving forward regardless. And that is deeply attractive because women don't want to be the center of your world. They want to be part of it. Here's the rule most men never learn. When your purpose comes first, attraction follows naturally. When attraction comes first, purpose erodes. Choose wisely. Now, here's the part nobody warns you about. These sentences do not create attraction on their own. Repeating them without the foundation behind them will destroy your credibility. Women are extremely sensitive to incongruence. If you say, I don't chase, but your actions chase, she feels it. If you say, I don't need you, but your emotions cling, she senses it. If you say, with or without you, I win, but your life has no direction, it rings hollow. Attraction doesn't come from the words. It comes from the alignment between your words and your life. The real work is not learning what to say. It's becoming the man who doesn't need to say much at all. That's the twist. Let's bring this home. These 10 statements are not pickup lines. They are psychological boundaries. Each one represents a frame. Self-respect, emotional control, abundance, clarity, purpose. Women don't remember the man who tried the hardest. They remember the man who made them feel like they could lose him. So here's what to do next. Stop chasing. Build structure in your life. Develop discipline. Protect your time. Speak less, but mean more. And let your frame do the talking. Now I want to hear from you. Which statement made you stop and think? Comment it below. If this helped you see attraction from a deeper psychological level, hit like and subscribe. And if you know a man who's still trying the wrong way, share this with him. Because the moment a man stops chasing, everything changes.